My name is Ava, and I've been married to Mike for 5 years now. I work as a chef at a local restaurant, and it's my true passion. Cooking has been my lifelong dream, and I hope to become a renowned chef someday. Mike is a sales manager at a small company. Our marriage has generally been fulfilling, with the usual ups and downs that couples experience. However, there's been one persistent challenge: Mike's mother, Linda. Linda is a social worker specializing in child safety assessments for the local administration, and she's quite a handful. From the beginning, she made it evident that she didn't approve of me. Nothing I did was ever good enough for her. She constantly found fault in my cooking, my appearance, or even the way I carried myself. It was an exhausting experience. The most frustrating part was that Mike never stood up for me. He would remain silent as his mother criticized me relentlessly. Determined to address this issue, I decided to have a frank discussion with Mike about his relationship with his mother. After supper, the TV humming softly in the background, I gently broached the subject with Mike. "Don't you think your mom can be a little harsh at times?" I asked, trying to keep my tone calm and understanding. Mike's expression hardened as he responded, "Ava, you don't really get it. My mom's always been this way. She raised me and my brother on her own after Dad left. She had to be tough, you know." He continued, cutting me off. "She used to tell us that if we misbehaved, she'd give us away to other parents. It terrified us, but it worked. We learned to behave." I stared at him, stunned. That's just terrible, Mike. Surely you realize that's not normal behavior." I questioned, my voice tinged with concern. Mike simply shrugged. "That's just how things were. Mom did the best she could," he said, defending his mother's actions. I realized then that this was a battle I couldn't win. Mike was too deeply influenced by his mother's ways. Years of manipulation and fear had left a lasting impact on him. On top of dealing with Linda's harsh parenting, there was also the constant comparison to Sarah, my sister-in-law. In Linda's eyes, Sarah could do no wrong. She was the perfect daughter-in-law, smart, talented, beautiful, and well-mannered, everything that, in Linda's opinion, I fell short of. At her job, she received yet another recognition for her outstanding performance. This promotion is a testament to her hard work and dedication. What a remarkable accomplishment! I'd nod and smile, my jaw clenched so tight I thought my teeth might crack. "That's great, Sarah. Congratulations." Sarah would beam, basking in the praise. "Thank you, Ava. It's not much, really." But the worst part of these dinners wasn't the comparisons. It was the constant badgering about children. Linda was obsessed with the idea of grandchildren, and she made it her mission to remind me of my duty at every opportunity. "So, Ava," she'd start, her eyes narrowing, "when are you and Mike planning on starting a family? You're not getting any younger, you know." I'd take a deep breath, trying to keep my cool. "We're focusing on our careers right now, Linda. Children will come when we're ready." Linda would scoff. "Career? Cooking isn't a career, dear. It's a hobby. A real woman knows her place is in the home, raising children." I'd feel my blood boil, but I'd bite my tongue. Getting into an argument wouldn't change anything. Mike, as usual, would stay silent, pushing food around his plate. Interestingly, Linda never bothered Sarah about having children. I found out why one day when Mike let it slip that Tom was infertile. It was a family secret, one that Linda guarded fiercely. She'd rather have no grandchildren than admit her precious firstborn had any flaws. Over time, Linda tightened her grip on her sons, insisting they help her with everything. And of course, that expectation extended to the daughters-in-law as well. Tom and Sarah lived nearby, so it was easier for them to cater to Linda's whims. But Mike and I lived farther away and both worked late hours. We couldn't visit as often as Linda wanted, and boy did she let us know how unhappy she was about it. "I might as well be dead for all you two care," she'd say dramatically over the phone. "My own son and his wife, too busy to visit their poor widowed mother." I'd roll my eyes, mouthing the words along with her. I'd heard this speech so many times I could recite it in my sleep. "We're sorry, Linda," I'd say, not feeling sorry at all. "We'll try to visit more often." But it was never enough. In Linda's world, we should be at her beck and call 24/7. And of course, it was all my fault. I was the one bossing Mike around and keeping him from his familial duties. As the months went by, I threw myself into my work even more. The kitchen became my sanctuary, the only place where I felt truly valued and respected. Chef Paulo continued to mentor me, pushing me to expand my skills and creativity. "You have a gift, Ava," he'd say, tasting my latest creation. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." His words were a balm to my battered self-esteem. In the kitchen, I wasn't the disappointing daughter-in-law or the wife who couldn't give her husband children. I was just Ava, the talented chef with a bright future ahead of her. The day everything started to unravel began like any other. I was at work, up to my elbows in prep for the dinner rush, when my phone buzzed. It was Linda. I groaned internally but answered anyway. "Hello, Linda. What can I do for you?" Her voice came through sharp and demanding. "Ava, I need you to come to the mall and pick me up. Sarah and I have been shopping, and we have too many bags for a taxi." I glanced at the clock. It was peak traffic time, and the mall was on the other side of town. "Linda, I'm at work. I can't just leave." "Oh, so your job is more important than family," she interrupted. "I see how it is. I suppose I'll just have to struggle with all these bags myself. At my age, I could throw my back out, but don't you worry about that." I closed my eyes, counting to 10 in my head. "Fine, Linda. I'll be there as soon as I can." The traffic was a nightmare. I sat in gridlock for over an hour, my frustration mounting with each passing minute. By the time I finally reached the mall, I was a ball of stress and irritation. I circled the parking lot, looking for Linda and Sarah. They were nowhere to be seen. I called Linda's phone. No answer. I tried Sarah. Nothing. Finally, after my third attempt, Linda picked up. "Where are you?" I asked, trying to keep the annoyance out of my voice. "Oh, Ava," Linda said, her tone dripping with false sweetness. "We got tired of waiting, so we took a taxi home." "I thought Sarah texted you," I said before she could protest. She hung up. I sat there, staring at my phone in disbelief. Then I screamed. I screamed until my throat was raw, letting out all the frustration and anger I'd been bottling up for years. When I got home, Mike was already there. I stormed in, still seething from the day's events. "Your mother," I started, but Mike cut me off. I know. Mom told me what happened." "Why didn't you get there faster? She had to take a taxi because of you." I stared at him, mouth agape. "Are you kidding me right now? I left work early, sat in traffic for hours, and it's my fault?" Mike shrugged. "You know how Mom is with waiting. You should have planned better." The next few weeks passed in a blur of work and tense silences at home. Mike and I were barely speaking, the rift between us growing wider with each passing day. Then one evening, as I was closing up the kitchen, my phone rang. It was Linda again. I considered ignoring it, but I knew that would only lead to more drama. With a heavy sigh, I answered. "Hello." "Ava, dear," she said, her voice sickly sweet, "I need you to do me a favor. It's Sarah's birthday tomorrow. I'm throwing her a little party at my house. I need you to deliver food from your restaurant, the most expensive dishes, mind you, for 10 people. I felt my blood pressure rising. "Linda, that's going to be extremely expensive. I can't just—" "Oh, don't be so stingy," she interrupted. "It's for family, and of course you'll be paying for it. Consider it your gift to Sarah." I nearly dropped the phone. "You want me to pay for a gourmet meal for 10 people? Linda, that's insane. I can't afford that." She disapprovingly said, "Well, if you're going to be difficult about it, I suppose you could always cook the meal yourself and bring it over. That's what a real chef would do, isn't it?" I closed my eyes, counting to 10 in my head. Linda, I work full-time. I don't have the energy to cook a gourmet meal for 10 people after a full shift. I see, she said, her voice cold. Well, I'll let Mike know how little you care about his family. Goodbye, Ava. The line went dead. I stood there, phone in hand, feeling a mixture of rage and disbelief. When I got home, Mike was waiting for me, his face like a thundercloud. Mom called, he said without preamble. Why are you being so difficult about Sarah's birthday? Mom's right. You don't care about anyone but yourself. In the end, I caved. I couldn't face another argument, another night of cold silence. The next day, I placed the order at the restaurant, wincing as I handed over my credit card. It was a huge chunk of my savings, but what choice did I have? The following evening, Mike and I arrived at Linda's house for the party. I was exhausted from a long day at work, but I plastered on a smile as we entered. Linda greeted us at the door, all smiles for Mike and barely a glance for me. Oh, you're here. Come in, come in. Everyone's already started eating. We walked into the dining room and I stopped short. The table was laden with food, but it wasn't the dishes I had ordered from the restaurant. Instead, there was an array of homemade dishes that looked, well, less than appetizing. What's going on? I asked, confused. Where's the food from the restaurant? Sarah looked up from her plate, smirking. Oh, didn't Mom tell you? I decided I wanted to cook for my own birthday. Isn't that right, Mom? Linda nodded, beaming at Sarah. Yes, and everything is just delicious. Sarah's such a talented cook. I stood there speechless. Mike nudged me. Come on, let's sit down. Don't make a scene. Numbly, I took my seat. Mike chatted and laughed with everyone, seemingly oblivious to my discomfort. I caught Linda watching me several times, a satisfied smirk on her face. By the time we left, I was emotionally drained. In the car on the way home, I turned to Mike. Did you know about this, that Sarah was going to cook? He shrugged. Mom might have mentioned it. What's the big deal? I stared at him in disbelief. The big deal is that I spent a fortune on food that's now going to waste. Mike, your mother knew that when she asked me to order it. You're overreacting, he said, not taking his eyes off the road. It was just a misunderstanding. But I knew better. This was no misunderstanding. It was a calculated move by Linda, another in her endless series of power plays. And once again, I was the loser. A couple of months passed, and the tension in our household had become almost unbearable. Mike and I were barely speaking, and when we did, it usually ended in an argument. I was spending more and more time at the restaurant, throwing myself into my work with a kind of desperate energy. One evening, as I was cleaning up after a long shift, Mike approached me with an unusually excited expression on his face. Ava, he said, his eyes bright, I need your help with something important. I raised an eyebrow, curious despite myself. What is it? It's Mom's birthday next month, he explained, and I want to do something really special for her, something that'll blow Tom's gift out of the water. Got any ideas? I was about to shake my head when suddenly a thought struck me. I remembered overhearing Chef Paulo talking about an upcoming event at the restaurant. Actually, I said slowly, I might have an idea. On your mom's birthday, there's going to be a special event at the restaurant. They're filming an episode of that cooking show your mom loves. You know, the one with that presenter she's always going on about. Mike's eyes widened. No way, are you serious? I nodded, feeling a small spark of excitement despite myself. Yeah, we could book a table for that night. If we're lucky, we might even get to be part of the filming. It's happening in the next room over from the main dining area. Mike's face lit up like a Christmas tree. Ava, that's perfect. Mom would absolutely love that. She's always wanted to meet that presenter. For a moment, I felt a warm glow of satisfaction. It was nice to see Mike so happy and, for once, to be the source of that happiness. We should keep it a surprise, I suggested, getting caught up in the moment. Can you imagine her face when she realizes where she is and what's happening? Mike nodded enthusiastically. Absolutely. We'll keep it completely under wraps. She won't suspect a thing." We spent the next hour planning out the details. I would book the table and arrange everything at the restaurant. Mike would handle getting Linda there without spoiling the surprise. The next day, I spoke to Chef Paulo about booking the table and explained the situation. He was more than happy to help, even offering to put us at one of the best tables in the house. The day of Linda's birthday arrived, and I woke up feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. As I was getting ready, Mike approached me with an odd expression on his face. "Hey, I think I'll go pick up Mom myself," he said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Why don't you head to the restaurant on your own? I'll meet you there with Mom." I frowned a little, taken aback. "Oh, okay. What time should I arrive?" "Just stick to the reservation time," Mike said quickly. "I'll handle everything else." I noticed Mike leaving much earlier than necessary, but I brushed it off. Maybe he had some last-minute preparations to take care of. When I arrived at the restaurant at the appointed time, my heart sank. Through the window I could see that the dining room was already full. Our family and several guests were seated at the largest table, laughing and talking animatedly. They looked like they'd been there for quite some time. I entered, my steps faltering as I approached the table. My usual place next to Mike was occupied by one of Linda's friends. I stood there, feeling like a ghost at my own party. "Hello, everyone," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. They barely glanced at me, continuing their conversations as if I weren't there. The only one who acknowledged me was Linda, who gave me a smug smile before turning back to her guests. I turned to Mike, confusion and hurt swirling inside me. "What's going on? I thought we were surprising your mother together." Mike finally looked at me, his expression a mixture of guilt and defiance. "Ava, we're tired of all the drama. Mom's birthday should be a happy occasion without any arguments or tension. We thought it would be better this way." I felt like I'd been slapped. "Better? You mean better without me?" Before Mike could respond, Linda chimed in, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Oh, Ava, dear, didn't Mike tell you? We decided to have a little family gathering, just the people who really matter." I felt my face burning with humiliation. That's when I noticed the camera crew in the corner filming the whole scene. Linda, oblivious to their presence, continued her tirade. "You know, it's probably for the best that you haven't given Mike any children," she said loudly. "A barren, useless woman like you shouldn't be a mother. If you ever do manage to have a child, I'll make sure it's taken away and given to Sarah. She'd be a much better mother." Sarah, Mike's sister-in-law, giggled as Linda patted her head approvingly. Linda was on a roll now, playing to her audience. "You should see some of the cases I deal with at work. Women like Ava thinking they can have it all, a career and a family. Ha, I take their children away and give them to real families, families with proper values." The guests nodded and murmured in agreement, shooting me mocking looks. I stood there, frozen, as Linda continued to spew her venom. I felt a deep sense of shame, not for myself, but for this woman who could be so cruel and callous. "I'm not hungry," I said quietly, my voice barely above a whisper. "Enjoy your dinner." As I turned to leave, I heard Linda's laughter followed by the laughter of her guests. The sound followed me out of the restaurant, echoing in my ears like a twisted symphony. I arrived home, my mind still reeling from the events at the restaurant. Without thinking, I started pulling clothes from the closet, stuffing them haphazardly into a suitcase. I couldn't stay here anymore, not after what had just happened. As I was frantically packing, my phone rang. It was James, the restaurant administrator. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Ava," James's voice was urgent. "You need to check the social media page for that cooking show that was filming at the restaurant today." Now curiosity overcame my desire to flee. I opened my laptop and found the page. What I saw made my jaw drop. There, front and center, was a video of Linda. But it wasn't the polished, put-together Linda she usually presented to the world. This was Linda in all her ugly glory, spewing venom about me and how she abused her position to take children from their mothers. The video had hundreds of thousands of views already, and the comment section was on fire. She should be fired immediately. How can someone so cruel work with children? Poor Ava, having to deal with such a monster of a mother-in-law. Before I knew what I was doing, I was in my car, driving back to the restaurant. I burst through the doors, my heart pounding. Linda was still there, chatting animatedly with the show's presenter. When she saw me, her face twisted with annoyance. "Why are you back?" she hissed. "Haven't you embarrassed yourself enough for one night?" Without a word, I thrust my phone in front of her face, the damning video playing on the screen. Linda's face drained of color as she watched herself, her own words condemning her. "What? What is this?" she sputtered, then turning to the presenter, she shrieked, "Take this down immediately. I'll sue you for everything you've got." The presenter just laughed. "I could take it down, sure, but it's already been shared thousands of times. You're viral, Linda. Congratulations on your newfound fame." Linda's face contorted with rage. She began grabbing plates off the table, hurling them to the floor. "I'll ruin you," she screamed. "I'll ruin all of you." "Oh, I wouldn't do that if I were you," the presenter said calmly. "We're still live, you see. Your little tantrum is being broadcast to the whole country right now." Linda froze, her face a mask of horror. The other guests at the table sat in stunned silence, looking as if they wanted the ground to open up and swallow them. James appeared at my side, his face grim. "I'm going to have to ask you all to leave now, or I'll be forced to call the police." As Linda and her entourage disappeared into the night, the presenter returned to me with a sympathetic smile on his face. "Ava, isn't it?" he said. "Would you mind if we had a quick chat on camera? I think our viewers would love to hear your side of the story." I hesitated for a moment, then nodded. As the camera turned to me, I took a deep breath. This was my chance to tell my truth, to reclaim my narrative. The aftermath of Linda's public meltdown was swift and merciless. Within days, she was fired from her job in disgrace, her years of manipulating the system finally catching up with her. The influential position she'd wielded like a weapon was gone, along with the respect she'd commanded in society. As for me, I wasted no time. The very next day, I filed for divorce. Mike came to me, his eyes red and pleading, begging for forgiveness. "Ava, please," he said, his voice breaking. "I made a terrible mistake. We can work this out, I promise. I'll stand up to Mom. I'll be better." I looked at him, feeling a mixture of pity and resolve. "It's too late, Mike. You had years to stand up for me, to be a real partner, but you chose your mother over me every single time." The divorce was surprisingly quick. We didn't have much to divide, and Mike, perhaps out of guilt, didn't contest anything. Just like that, 5 years of marriage were dissolved, reduced to nothing more than a signature on a piece of paper. But as one chapter of my life closed, another one opened up in ways I never could have imagined. Chef Paulo approached me a week after the incident. "Ava," he said, a broad smile on his face, "I've got some news for you. The owner was impressed with how you handled everything. We want to make you the head chef of our restaurant in the city center." It wasn't just the promotion. TV shows started calling, wanting me as a guest. At first, they just wanted me to cook, but soon they were asking me to speak about my experiences, about self-respect, and the importance of love and family relationships. I started a YouTube channel, sharing recipes and life advice. The comment section was filled with messages from people who had been through similar experiences, thanking me for giving them the courage to stand up for themselves. One day my agent, yes, I had an agent now, called with exciting news. "Ava, I've got multiple offers for you to host your own TV show on cable. Are you interested?" I couldn't believe it. Me with my own TV show? It was beyond anything I'd ever dreamed of. As for my former family, well, I heard things through the grapevine. Linda's influence over her sons was waning. Sarah, my former sister-in-law, who had always been Linda's golden child, now openly despised her mother-in-law. Funny how quickly things change when the true nature of a person is revealed. Some people asked if I felt sorry for them, if I regretted how things had turned out. The truth is, I didn't. They had made their choices, just as I had made mine. The difference was, I could look myself in the mirror each morning and be proud of the person I saw.